Hi everyone. I'm Kelsey. Thanks for stopping by my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the New Year New Reads Readathon that is being hosted right now by A Book Like You, Keisha, Gabby at Gabbing About Books, Summer at Seasons Reading, and Gwen at Gwendolyn Kensinger, Lavender Mud on Instagram. Anyways, that was a hard intro for me. So my computer at work is updating right now, and so I am going to film this video. Okay, so I'm going to talk about my TBR for this readathon today, and I like the readathon because they're really trying to make it easy. So low pressure for the beginning of the year. Like, we all have a million goals, but you know, like, how realistic can you be in a week? I like that the goals were there's three reading prompts, and for me that's perfect. So I'm going to go through my TBR here. One of them was a debut book by an author. And so I'm going to do Liar, Dreamer, Thief by Readathon. And then the next prompt is a book that you meant to read last year and didn't get to. So I finally started A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, which if you've been watching me for a while, you know I keep moving it from month to month for my TBR. And I do have a feeling this will be a 5-star read. I really like quiet novels where there's not a lot of plot, but it's more looking into characters. And I think A Tree Grows in Brooklyn will be exactly that. I've really enjoyed the prose so far. I need to grab book darts because I think this will be one I book dart. And then finally is the most recent book you've received. And so in January, I'm trying to focus on advanced review copies that I've received. So any books that I grab, with the exception of this one, will be advanced review copies. So the most recent advanced review copy I got was Liar, Dreamer, Thief, but I decided to add another book, and so I'm reading The Duke Gets Even by Joanna Shoup. This was already on my TBR. It's one of my most anticipated releases of the year, so I figured why not just start it now, and it's as good as I expected. Last night I did a book flight during sprints, and I read a chapter of each book to kind of decide which book I really wanted to prioritize, and I think realistically, because this is the easiest to sink into, The Duke Gets Even. Honestly, all three have held my attention, so I'm kind of like, that's a great problem to have. Liar, Dreamer, Thief is super weird. So the tagline is that she is not a stalker, essentially. And it starts out and she is like, but she's seeing like a fantasy world in her kitchen based on a child's book that she loves, but she's also following a coworker of hers in kind of an unsettling way. And then like they just dropped that like she's estranged from her family. So I'm just very like, it's kind of confusing, but you know it's going to all come together and be very compelling when it does. The writing's really good. So I'm just very intrigued by this, and it's a debut, and it's blurred by Alex E. Harrow, Ashley Winstead, Ava Reed. So those authors I enjoy. So I'm kind of just very excited for this. And then A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, I talked about earlier, but like not a lot's happening, but the writing is so beautiful, and it's just about this girl, Francie, a day in the life. So far, we're doing good, but I will keep you guys updated as the readathon continues. Hi everybody. So I don't have much of a voice. I got diagnosed with strep today, so that's fun. But I got some great hair. I am reading Liar, Dreamer, Thief by Readathon right now, and it is such a weird book. It's a thriller, and the main character has OCD, and they're really playing into like her mental illness, but you don't necessarily know what she has, what her past is. And she's obsessed with a coworker and has like all these obsessive behaviors. And then this is all from the cover. So, she finds a message in his desk, her coworker's desk, that he's aware of her surveillance, And she like freaks out, has a routine that she has to do to like feel under control, and goes to this bridge where he attempts suicide and says it's all her fault. So that's where I'm at, and that's all in the cover jacket of the book, so no spoilers, but it is just like such a weird book. It's a thriller, but it's like kind of, there's she sees like this fantasy world, so there's kind of like a fantasy component, but not really, like it's just in her brain. I don't know. It's good though. I am finally on medicine for strep and drinking a ton of tea. I'm just gonna read until I go to bed tonight because blah, it's so awful. Strep is not something you want as an adult if you can't help it. So, all right, I'll keep you updated as I read. Hi everyone. So continuing on with the new year, new reads readathon. Don't mind me, I had to get blood work drawn today and had a physical. I am pretty excited because so far in the new year, new reads readathon, I've read 2 books. The 3 books I wanted to read were going to be The Duke Gets Even, Liar, Dreamer, Thief, and A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. I've made a lot of progress on A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, but that's gonna be like a slow but steady read for me. Not one that I want to fly through, so it's a classic, modern classic, but really, really good so far. Very character driven, about a little girl named Francie. And I finished The Duke Gets Even by Joanna Shupe. This is one of my most anticipated romances of the year, and it is wonderful. Hold on, I have to go let my dogs back in. Okay, it's a reading vlog, so you're gonna get some chaos because my 2 dogs are wild. Hi, Kings. Get down, Gus. Probably gonna spill my coffee. Stop. Okay, so I finished The Duke Gets Even, and it was really good. It was Nellie and Lockwood's story. And Lockwood was a duke he came from England because he needs to marry a wealthy American heiress. And Nellie is this like wealthy American heiress, but she is very much anti-society. Her mom was an Irish barmaid who married her really rich tycoon dad. And society's always kind of shunned them. She's very like pro birth control and just using your body the way you want to be used and free love, etc., etc. And he and her obviously fall in love, but she's like, I'm not meant to be a duchess. So the whole book. I will say of all the books Joanna Shupe's series, this is by far the steamiest one I've read. It just like starts off with a bang, literally, and then keeps going. I really love Joanna Shupe, but this one is definitely steamy. And I mean, all historical romances are going to have an open door component if I'm reading them. So this one is especially open door. And then I'm reading Liar, Dreamer, Thief, and it's a thriller. I'm kind of struggling with it. I am still trying to find my sweet spot for thrillers. So this is like very much, there's some psychological stuff going on in this character's mind. So you're not necessarily sure it's reality. And there's been someone who might have committed suicide, but not. And I don't know. I'm still very much trying to figure out my place in the story and what's going on. But I think that's a device because the main character doesn't really know what's going on either. And then I finished, this one was not a book I was planning on reading, I guess, for the readathon, but it's called The Last Quintista, and it was a book for my book club. So The Last Quintista is about this little girl who is like the last storyteller, the last person who remembers the past in her community in space. Sorry, my dogs are being so naughty. So yeah, I finished The Last Quintista and I really liked it. It's very much middle grade, but it's about this Earth is getting hit by a comet, and so to survive, a bunch of people are flying off to other countries or other planets. I don't know if my dogs will let me film today. We'll try in a little bit. Hi. So it's been maybe 2 weeks since, it's been about 2 weeks since the new year, new reads readathon got over. I got strep. I don't know what else happened, but time flew, so I'm finally getting this video done. I'm also still wearing my Halloween tone sweatshirt because it's so comfortable and it's freezing. Anyways, yeah, it's been a while. So I read 4 books, if I can count. Yeah. I read 4 books during the New Year New Reads Readathon, and the prompts were read a new to you author, read the last book you got, and then read a book you meant to get to in 2022. And so a new to you author, I read two new to you authors. So one was Liar, Dreamer, Thief by Readathon. And I haven't talked about that yet in the vlog. It was a psychological thriller that's pretty hard to explain, but the main character has OCD, and it takes you a while to figure that out, but she has a lot of compulsions and things she needs to do to function. She has this coworker that she's fixated on, and the tagline of the book is like, say what you want to say, but I am not a stalker. And she just has some weird things happen to her at work involving this guy, and happens to go during one of her compulsive behaviors to this bridge, which she always goes there when she's at like the peak of her illness, and witnesses this man jump off the bridge. And then her world kind of spirals. So you're trying to figure out like what's going on, what's reality, what isn't. And she's trying to figure that out. It was a very wild ride. It was pretty middle of the road. I do struggle with thrillers in general. So while I enjoyed it, as it's been a couple weeks since I've finished it, it just isn't really sticking with me. So if you like thrillers, you might like it. It was just okay. It wasn't bad. It wasn't a 5-star read. It was okay. Then my other new to me author was The Last Quintista, and I cannot think of the author's name, but we had to read this for book club. I talked about it earlier. It was so much fun. I'll put the picture right here. Just a really good middle grade. My entire book club read it. We all enjoyed it. And then for reading the newest book you got, I read The Duke Gets Even by Joanna Shoup. She's also an author that I've read before. It published Monday of this week, or Tuesday of this week, so the 24th. And I will read anything by Joanna Shoup. Gilded Age Romance was amazing. And then the other prompt was read a book you meant to read in 2022. And I started A Tree Grows in Brooklyn finally, but knowing I wasn't going to finish that during the readathon. So that's okay. I just wanted to start it. It's by Betty Smith. So many people have told me I'll love it. And I do. It's just one of those that I'm reading a little bit at a time. Like, I just want to savor it because I do really like the story and the writing and all of that. And then the book I finished on audio that technically I meant to read in 2022, but just didn't get to it, is Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And let me tell you, if you're going to consume this book, do it on audio because it is a full cast recording. It is so cool because there's one main narrator and she narrates Carrie Soto, but then it's a sports book about Carrie Soto and like kind of a Venus Serena Williams tennis star coming back to defend her title. And she's older, competing against really young people. I was not excited about a tennis story because 1, I know nothing about tennis. 2, it just was like, really, like this sounds kind of boring. Let me tell you, it just blew me away. And I could not stop listening on audio, but because it was a sports book, in between the chapters, there'd be like news segments of like CNN, ESPN, the other big media conglomerate, about her coming back, and there'd be music, and like it sounded like it would be something. There'd be radio segments from like NPR. Like, it was super fun. So glad I did that. So for the New Year New Reads Readathon, I read 4 books. That's awesome. 3 of them are technically from my shelf. So 1 was 2 were ARCs, 1 was an advanced listening copy. So they were all ARCs technically, which fits with my theme for January that I'm trying to prioritize advanced review copy books on my TBR, which I'm doing a really good job. So New Year New Reads was so much fun, and I'm so glad the host did it. I will tag them down below, but it was such a great readathon to really kick off the year of reading. So I'm pretty proud of myself for that. Like, 4 books is really good in a week. And also just to read what I had intended to read, because I sometimes don't do that. But anyways, it was a great experience, and I'm so glad that I participated, and thank you again for stopping by. If you also participated, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.